Thanks to God's advice, we are free. When I look at this building, I remember all the tortures and oppressions that were given to me. The tortures inflicted not only on me, but on all my fellow prisoners, passed before my eyes like a film.
I remember the screams of my fellow prisoners. Those screams are still in my head. Those horrors always bother me.
As if we were not seen as human beings in their eyes. Maybe beat, slap, kick the prisoner. But they tortured us so hard that we were happy when they beat us with a baton.
This is SHUSHA prison, one of the oldest penal institutions in Azerbaijan. During the occupation, hundreds of Azerbaijani prisoners and hostages were unjustly held here. Javid, Bayram, and Habib, who suffered here at that time, entered the cells where they were detained, today as free people for the first time.
This is the place where we spent the hardest and most painful years of our lives. We have seen torture here. You can imagine when you go somewhere you can remember any pleasant moments. But this one, you come. Believe me, when I entered the door of the prison, all the sufferings I experienced passed before my eyes like a frame. I remembered the oppression and torture I suffered. It was very difficult.
When I came here for the first time, when I entered the cell where I suffered, I had terrible feelings. I haven't forgotten anything anyway. Everything came alive in front of my eyes. My fellow captives who were killed came here before my eyes. I've never forgotten how they tortured them to death one by one. It still seems to me like a fairy tale, like a dream. I can't believe my eyes that I got out of this dungeon safely.
These people, insulted by Armenian separatists, were severely tortured just because they were Azerbaijanis. The life of each of them in captivity is full of terrible events that they will never forget.
There were more than 10 of us. They lined us up in front of the door. They brought 4 or 5 shovel handles. Lining up our legs in pairs, they started beating from one end to the other and then back. About halfway through, 2 or 3 of the handles broke. After that, they made us lie on our faces and hopped on our backs. It breaks my heart to say this. They gave us such tortures that we will not forget for the rest of our lives.
I was tortured for 1 year and 9 months in SHUSHA prison. They tormented me a lot because I am from the city of Sumgait. An Armenian prison guard once came to me in a drunken state and pointed a gun at my head. Believe me, I was happy then. Maybe you ask, why you were happy. I thought that if only he pulled the trigger, my life would have been saved from this suffering. But he did not pull the trigger. He pulled the gun back and said that I will die in agony. Not so easily. I always beg God to sleep and not to wake up, so I don't see the new day.
In this corridor, in these cells, much of our blood was spilled, you know. What oppressions we have suffered. What did they do to me here? It was January. They took us out and put us on the square in front of the commander's office. They said that we brought you a New Year's gift. They told me that there is a bag there, go get it. When I looked at the bag, I saw that there was blood on it. My fellow prisoners were all lined up. They told me to take the gift out of the bag. When I put my hand in, my hand touched the hair, and I knew that it was severed human head. They said to put it on the snow. I put it on the snow. Then they said there are more, take them out. This time it was severed human hands that I pulled out of the bag.
According to international conventions, keeping captives and hostages during armed conflicts in a closed place like SHUSHA prison is contrary to international conventions. During the First Karabakh War, all provisions of these conventions were totally violated by Armenians. Azerbaijani captives and hostages were kept here in inhumane conditions and were brutally tortured.
What is the heaviest injury you got from the tortures you suffered?
I got an injury on my head. The impact point is still there. You can't see it because of my hair. They hit me on the head with a baton. I laid on the ground for some time until I regained consciousness.
It was March 21st. It was the day of Nowruz holiday. We came from work, it was late evening. The Armenian prison guard approached us and told us that today is your holiday. We will have gifts for you. Gareg, the head of the prison, tied my hands to the iron bars. He started beating me. He asked me in Armenian whether Karabakh is ours or yours. I raised my head and said that it is ours. After this answer, he raised the baton and hit me on the eye with all his might. Suddenly, I felt that my eye was bleeding. After that, I woke up in the cell. I felt very bad pains in my body. I wanted to check to see if my eyes were in the right place. Just as I brought my hand closer to my face, imagine that my hand hit the tumor in my eye from a distance. 2 days passed. My eye was in a bad condition. It was completely dirty. They took me to the head of the prison. After looking at my eye, he said that this eye is no longer suitable for you. He took out the knife and put it in my eye. Then took out my eye and threw it away. He said that when you ask, you will say that I fell while collecting firewood in the forest and pierced by a branch.
Can't you see now?
No, this eye of mine is a prosthetic, a glass.
They took me and my fellow prisoner named Famil to the cemetery. They wanted us to dig up a grave. They wanted to exhume the bodies of Azerbaijanis buried there. I was refusing. I didn't want to dig. Despite this, they beat us. They stretched us on those graves and threatened us, saying that they will cut off our heads. We should do it. Still, I didn't. I couldn't do it, because I knew that they were the corpses of Azerbaijanis. For a moment, I was afraid when he put a knife on my throat and threatened to cut off my head. At that moment, I recited the religious rite. He pulled the knife aside and started beating me. At that time, 8 people beat me. I passed out. I didn't feel anything anymore. I survived by the miracle of God. Only this I can say.
Terrible tortures of Azerbaijani prisoners and hostages, and the white lies of Armo Sargsyan, head of SHUSHA prison, during the occupation.
We do not touch anyone. They are in excellent condition. You can ask yourself, we provide food 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. They are satisfied. There are also bathrooms for cleaning. I will not allow anyone to harm them. Okay, what are you doing? Are you working?
Statements of captives, hostages, returned and freed persons collected and documented in the State Commission demonstrate that here captives and hostages were interrogated in violation of humanitarian norms. They were subjected to severe tortures. They were used as slaves in particular. They were used in the demolition of occupied Azerbaijani settlements, and even the facts are known that while demolishing the residential areas, the hostages loaded the demolition materials into the Iranian state-marked vehicles, which indicates that the neighboring state participated in the looting of the occupied territories.
Despite the cruelty committed by the Armenians, who took advantage of the opportunities provided by time, the humane attitude of the Azerbaijanis to them has never changed. Let's recall how an Armenian who committed war crime was incarcerated in Azerbaijan.
Although I committed such a crime, the people in the court spoke to me like a normal person.
This is Arsen Bagdasaryan. He was detained while burying mines in the defensive line of the Azerbaijani army. According to the court's verdict, he was sentenced to 15 years in prison. At that time, we met with Arsen, who was serving a sentence in an Azerbaijani prison, and learned whether he was dissatisfied with the sentence given by the court and the conditions of its detention.
I am very satisfied with the conditions of detention. Whatever I ask, they solve it, even if it's difficult. I've been here for 2 years. I don't need anything.
It may seem surprising, but in fact it should be so. 2 neighboring peoples should live peacefully and friendly. It is also important to show an iron fist to a neighbor who does not want peace and kindness.
May the day be the day to end the fight. Let the clouds disperse. Let the air open.
What did they think about most during the long nights in prison? What did they see most in their dreams at night? Could sweet dreams make them forget their bitter life even a little?
I didn't spend a single night comfortably. Sometimes at 4 or 5 in the morning, we used to hear the sound of the iron doors from outside, and we woke up to its sound. We knew they were coming to beat us. We were even glad that it was better if they beat us with a baton, not just with an armature, a mallet, or an iron tool.
Most of the time, my own house came into my sleep. Inevitably, you cried. You think you're in your own home, but when you wake up, you realize It is not home. You're in SHUSHA prison. Most of us were crying.
During this prison life, when we were in captivity, we had neither night nor day. When you dream, you see your loved ones at home. You see freedom.
During the nights of captivity, they always dreamed of their relatives and homes. And during the nights of free life, the painful captivity life does not leave them alone.
When I'm at home, these places always enter my dreams. My fellow prisoners who were killed often enter my dreams.
For almost 2 months, not every day, but now and then, I woke up startled. I thought the prison guard was coming to beat me, or that we were being taken to work somewhere. Then I was staring, I startled. I realized that no, I was in my own house.
There were times when I slept and I saw the walls and corridor of this place in my dreams. When I woke up, I said that, "Oh God, take these places out of my memory."
Many of those who went to the basement, which the prisoners called the death chamber, did not return. Javid and Habib recalled the terrible moments they spent there.
When they brought me here for the first time, they kept me in this basement for 4 days, because they did not want to put me on the list of the International Committee of the Red Cross.
After removing my eye, they kept me in the so-called death chamber for 3 days to hide it from the International Committee of the Red Cross. Look, they chained me to this iron bar. I stayed here for 3 days.
These images were filmed by Armenians in SHUSHA prison. Our captives and hostages kept together with pigs, a terrible scene that is difficult to express by words. Your hometown is in the hands of the enemy, and yourself too. Our captives and hostages who lost their health due to insults and tortures, but did not lose hope, eagerly waiting for their release.
If I endured these tortures, then God saved me. No wild animal in nature could endure these sufferings. But we have endured it, thanks to God.
Fate is from God. We have been waiting for this day. 99% we believed in the possibility of getting out of captivity, and we all waited. Although we were beaten and hurt, we were waiting for that day. We were all waiting for that day. We lived with hope. There was faith that someday we will be exchanged.
Finally, the day has arrived, but this day took a long time to come. It took much longer than weeks, months, years. That great day arrived after 28 years and 6 months. That day was the most glorious day in the history of Azerbaijan. That day was as dear as a birthday to everyone. On that day, the Azerbaijanis were reborn as proud citizens. This was the day SHUSHA was released. Perhaps Javid Habib and Bayram, who lived a hard life of captivity at the same time, never imagined that one day they would be able to come to free SHUSHA together as free people and visit this place, the SHUSHA prison, which the Armenians turned into a temple of torture.
When I heard about SHUSHA's release, I thought that my two eyes can see again. I came and saw these places again. I want to prove to those hateful beings that I said that time will come. I will come, we will meet. Now I have come. I am here, but now you are gone. You will never be back. Because this land belongs to the Azerbaijani people, the Azerbaijani nation.
I begged. I always wanted this from God. I lost my faith. I did not believe that I would see SHUSHA free. Thank God, I was lucky that day.
Time is turbulent like a river, but sooner or later justice takes its place. Two of the Armenians, who once caused thousands of people to suffer here, are now serving the punishment they deserve behind closed doors. Alyosha Khashrovyan and Ludwig Makurchian, the Armenian supervisors who tortured prisoners and hostages in SHUSHA during the occupation, were captured by our victorious army during the 44-day Patriotic War. Now they are behind closed doors. Each was sentenced to 20 years in prison.
I would prefer giving them a life sentence. Personally, I do not agree with them receiving a sentence of 20 years, because it is a very light punishment compared to the severe tortures they inflicted to us. They deserve a harsher punishment.
As a result of the rightful policy of our honorable President Ilham Aliyev, our Armenian people united under one fist and our lands were liberated. And Alyosha and Ludwig, who tortured us, were brought before us. I told them then that the time will come when we will face each other. Revenge will not stay behind.
We met Alyosha Khashrovyan and Ludwig Makurchian in Gobistan prison and asked about their prison life. These people, who were once guards in SHUSHA prison, are now living in prison, the life condemned by justice. They did not want to talk about their war crimes and the tortures they inflicted on our prisoners. Alyosha Khashrovyan categorically refused to speak. Ludwig Makurchian agreed to a short conversation.
I am originally from Babek district of Nakhchivan. We moved to Armenia when I was 8 years old. During my stay there, and after that, even when I was in military service, we had good relations and close contacts with Azerbaijanis.
How are your detention conditions? Is there anyone who hurt or harmed you?
General behavior is normal, no pressure. They don't curse. They don't insult. When you get sick, doctors take care of you and give you medicine. There is also food. Everything is okay. We have no complaints.
But when you were captured, did anyone insult or beat you?
I was wounded when I was captured. I was shot in the back. Thanks to the doctors, they treated me. They didn't care that I was Armenian. They did their work professionally. I have no worries. I am fully recovered. One thing I know is that war is not a good thing. I want no war.
These war criminals, who are serving time in prison, themselves admitted that their situation is very good. This suggests that Azerbaijan's policy is more humane than international organizations demand. Let's go back to Javiv, Habib, and Bayram's painful life of captivity, full of torture. Hearing the news of their release is one of the brightest and most memorable moments of their tragic captivity.
They killed those who were ill and those who could not work. They didn't keep them, because if you are useless to them, then they don't need you. They didn't even give food. They didn't even give dry bread. They came and lined us up. They read the names. My name was also mentioned. I went to the front, turned around, and looked back to my fellows, thinking, this is it. Suddenly, Pierre, an employee of International Committee of the Red Cross, said, "Do you know where you're going?" He said, "You're going home. You will go home tomorrow." Imagine what person feels when he hears these words. That moment was still in front of my eyes. One of my eyes was missing. The other one was weak, very weak. I couldn't sleep that night. I was waiting for morning in front of the window. The morning will come, and I will be out of here.
An employee of the International Committee of the Red Cross named Pierre Rachel came. May God give him long life. He helped us a lot. The last time I saw Pierre was when I woke up from a coma. He came and gave me good news. Habib said, "I'm sending you off." I was very excited when I heard this word. I was both happy and couldn't believe my eyes and ears that I was going.
Bayram Rustamov did not miss the opportunity offered by fate. He himself managed to save his life from this hellish torment.
After staying in SHUSHA prison for several months, they took me and almost the majority of those detained there to the village of Mismina. We were engaged in construction and gardening there. After some time there, the three of us planned to escape from captivity among ourselves. One was a guy named Gadia from Fuzuli district. The other was a guy named Vugar from Salyan district. He was a soldier. We made a decision together and ran away from the village of Mismina. We ran in the opposite direction, in the direction of SHUSHA, to deceive them. We stayed in the forest for 2-3 days. After that, we returned to Kojali. From there, we went down to Gaga River. We came to the village of Efatli. There was a cattle farm there. We spent the night there. Then we moved a little further. We heard a sound near the village. Suddenly, we heard voices speaking in Azerbaijani language. Our joy knew no bounds. We realized that we have already moved to our side. It is very difficult to express by words the feeling of joy we were experiencing.
As a result of Armenia's military aggression against Azerbaijan, 360 Azerbaijani citizens who were captured and taken hostage during the First Karabakh War were detained in SHUSHA prison. 244 of them were servicemen, 116 were civilians. Subsequently, as a result of the urgent measures taken by State Commission of the Republic of Azerbaijan on prisoners of war, hostages, and missing persons, 216 out of 360 people were released from captivity. 133 of those persons were servicemen, and 88 were civilians. However, as I mentioned, the fate of 139 out of 360 people who were actually detained in SHUSHA prison, their further fate is unknown. The Armenian side did not provide any information about them. 111 of them were servicemen and 28 were civilians.
In those years, the representative of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Pierre Rochelle, often visited this prison and tried to improve the conditions of detention of prisoners. During that time, Pierre had an exceptional role in keeping many of the prisoners safe. In the prison yard, they shared their emotional moments with Pierre via live messenger.
Hello, what do you see behind us in the background?
Is that a prison building?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Do you remember?
Of course. How can I not remember that place? I am telling you, my best memories are getting to know you. We had an unbreakable friendship.
All doors of SHUSHA prison are now open. Every open door should be a new page in the tortured story of our captives and hostages. History has repeatedly proven that our forgetfulness is the beginning of new tragedies.
When I was in captivity, I always dreamed that if we were freed from captivity, if we came to these places, I would come here with my fellow prisoners and play the accordion.
Şuşa yaylarını sis duman aldı. Kara bülbülümün gözleri doldu. Topxana meşəsi saçını yoldu. Gel boyuna qurban ay vətənim.